All
So he
right.
just got it, I guess. There.
So you breed both Weimaraners and short-haired pointers, correct?
German short-haired pointers, yes.
How long have you been breeding both of those?
A very long time,
Okay.
since the 70s.
Okay. What got you started with each of the breeds?
I originally started out with German Shepherds, and my husband
Okay.
wanted a hunting dog. And he was
Okay.
hunting with people that had Springer Spaniels, and those dogs were always taking the bird and running off to some island or something and eating it instead of bringing it back. And he decided he wanted his own dog that,
Yep.
and he ended up getting carried away. He got a couple labs, and then he got a German short-haired pointer, and then he got a Weimaraner. And at that point I was going, whoa, wait a minute, we got to slow down here. And I
Yep.
had told him that that was fine, but I wanted dogs that I would be able to show.
Yep.
And so we had to get decent pedigrees even way back then.
Yep.
And anyway, so I slowed him down at that point. And Labradors, even though I bred very nice ones, fully health tested, and I bred to like the national amateur field champion of that year.
Yep.
And when the puppies arrived and I offered them for sale, and this again was years ago, I think it was probably like $300 or something is what the price was then. And people would say, why should I pay that? I can get a lab for $50. So
Yeah.
needless to say, Labradors are too common. And so even to compete with them and or sell puppies,
Yep.
it was going to be too difficult. So at that point, we narrowed it down to, we would no longer do Labradors and move to the German short-haired pointers and Weimaraners.
Okay. Do German short-haired pointers and Weimaraners have fairly similar personalities, or are they pretty different from each other?
They're very similar in activity level. They
Okay.
both need definite structured exercise of some kind. And so I always want my families that decide they want one to be active. You don't have to be active where you personally run, but you have to have access to grounds where you can four-wheeler or bike or walk or play with the chuck it ball or something, that
Yep.
the dog actually gets exercise, not just to walk around the block. That isn't
Okay.
enough for either of the breeds. Personality wise, they are a little different also. I mean, they are both hunting dogs, they're both pointing dogs, so a lot of the same triggers, whether it's the bird or the chipmunk in the tree outside the window, they're very equal with that. Yeah, yes, we want to let you know what's out there.
Yep.
They're both definitely alert barkers. They definitely tell me if anyone's even close.
Okay.
And they can both be protective. I can't say one more than the other really of me. I travel a lot by myself and I never worry because I always have a dog with me of some type, and
Yep.
they may sit calmly in the seat next to me, but I wouldn't worry about somebody attacking
Yep.
me because I know the dog would take care of it, at least being a big noise deterrent.
Yep.
They both, I'm trying to think of what would be, the German short hair is a little more independent.
Okay.
They're more focused on the external world a little bit more as far as just interest.
Okay.
And a willingness to explore maybe a little farther,
Okay.
or check some new thing out. The Weimaraner can be very bonded, even more so. I mean, both of them bond very well to their families, but
Yep.
the Weimaraner is even more so. One example is, and he's not, I guess he's laying on the floor here, but my male Weimaraner that I owned from the time he was a baby, but didn't get him until he was about 7 or 8 months old. And he's now like 7 years old. And he now finally, when my husband is going out and he's going to run the dogs in the country, he will actually go out the door with him now. Originally, it's taken this many years for him to do that on his own. Otherwise, he would say, well, wait a minute, you're not coming. I can't go if you're not coming. And I'd have to actually take him by his collar and walk him out to the car and say, yes, you can go now. And he would get in the car and he'd go and he would be fine with that. But he'd sit on the steps looking at me saying, oh, I can't leave you. I got to stay with you. So
Okay.
they're a little more bonded that way than the short hairs. Now the short hairs, you open the door and they say, "Oh, we're going," run out and jump in
Okay. Yep.
the car. So there's kind of that kind of different personality.
Okay. Are they ones who usually bond to a specific person then? Or if you get them as a puppy, do they pick one, or they kind of love everybody in the family?
Both dogs love everybody,
Okay.
but they do definitely pick whoever they think is the pack leader or their favorite in the family.
Okay.
In fact, that's another example of all the dogs go out in the country with my husband, and he's out there and he plays the chuck it ball while he's doing his chores with the horses and things, and comes back in the house. And I mean, they were all happy to go with him. They respond to him, bring the ball to him, all that stuff while he's out there. And as you see right now, you can only see a couple of them, but now that I came upstairs, all the dogs come with me.
Okay.
Whether I'm in the bathroom, the bedroom, the kitchen, the whatever. And he sometimes says, "What the heck is this?" Nancy leaves the room and all the dogs go with her.
Okay.
It's just dogs in general.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any more than other breeds, really.
Okay. And then do you think that they need to have a fenced yard, or if they get activity outlets elsewhere, are they okay in a place that doesn't have a fenced area?
I definitely recommend a fenced yard.
Okay.
Just because they do like to be outside. So to be able, like I have a dog door, and so when the weather is reasonably nice, in Montana and North Dakota, we have issues with that. It can't be necessarily all year round, but they like to be able to go out and lay in the sun. But if left to their own devices, you could never just leave them in your yard and go to work, say, and expect them to be sitting in the backyard waiting for you on the steps. That's not the kind of dog they are. No.
Okay.
The hunting gene, whether you hunt with them or not, is in their DNA. And so they're the exploring, wanting to check out what's behind the next wall or hedge or clump of grass. And so they can be, actually dangerous for rabbits, cats, chickens, anything. So you have to be able to protect your dogs from harming other people's animals.
Yeah. If they're raised with smaller critters, do they tend to do okay, or is that drive really strong in those breeds that it's always a struggle?
Has been done. I have known families of my own dogs that have done it. Only if they're raised as a puppy, I would say with an adult cat.
Okay.
I would never leave them with rabbits or ferrets or pet rats, anything like that.
Okay.
I would not recommend. But growing up, if you already have a cat, you can bring a puppy in and that cat will lay down the law while the puppy is still little.
Okay.
And they actually can be very good with that cat.
Okay.
But they also will not be good with any neighbor cats. They will chase them out of the yard and or do damage. There's too much prey drive there to allow strange, unknown other animals.
Okay. Are they difficult to house train, or do they pick that up pretty quickly?
They're about the same, I think, as any dog. That's all really human based.
Yeah.
People don't understand sometimes that it really is a training. Just because you can't put a diaper, well, you can, but diapers on them like you can a baby, it still is a long time frame before they have bowel and bladder control. That's not until they're over 3 months old. So a lot of people, they get their puppy when they're 8 weeks old and they're expecting, oh yeah. So it's scheduled. I tell everybody, if you can get them out every 2 hours, and anytime they wake up from a nap, anytime they pause from playing after they eat, if you get them on your schedule, but matching it to their needs at that time, it works great. And and I do recommend crate training as well. I always say if you can't actively watch your dog, they need to be confined as a puppy.
Yep. Are they pretty easy to train to do other things also? Or does it take a lot of repetition for them to learn a new skill?
Oh no, they're extremely smart. And of course, sometimes they, learn the thing you didn't want them to learn because like all animals, I teach dog obedience classes. And I always try to explain to people that dogs think in black and white. They don't think in gray. So you have to be consistent. And so if you any dog, but these in particular, once they understand it, they're very food motivated. So it's easy to use treats and train.
Okay.
I just got a certificate in the mail for one of my girls getting her rally novice title. They do scent work. I have another one that passed 2 times at the hunt test. So yeah, and what is it? Excuse me, dock diving and the fast cat, the new one that's
Okay.
facing, they're extremely agile and athletic. So all of those things they love. The more active, the better.
Okay. How much time would somebody looking at getting one of these breeds want to spend or set aside for training purposes?
I'm not sure really what you mean there.
So like,
As a
do
baby
they need to set
puppy,
aside like half an hour every day, or is it, break it up into little
if you're
bits?
talking about training for a specific task, it can be 5 minutes a day. If you're
Okay.
teaching them to sit and lay down and come when called and things, that can be, 5 or 10 minutes until they learn it. And then it's just remembering it or using that command
Okay.
intermittently. But if you're teaching them a brand new thing, like say dock diving,
Yep.
you'd have to first get them acclimated to water, that they did know how to swim. And then you'd have to teach them to retrieve if they didn't already know.
Okay.
And then there's the deal of jumping off the dock.
Yeah,
So
that's-
I did do it. I have one of my dogs is registered, and she's recorded at a 2-foot jump. The only
Okay.
reason is because she got to the edge and went, whoa, and stopped instead of leaping off. And then
Okay.
of course I nudged her just a little bit and she went, okay, I guess. And she just dropped down.
Yep.
And so, yeah, she went and swam out and got the dummy and turned around and had a little difficult time getting back up the ramp. But it's all that takes a lot of practice. Something
Okay.
that is a out of the ordinary, but regular house training or teaching them to catch the ball or retrieve, that's a couple minutes, 5-10
Okay.
minutes a day. And then once they learn it, you move on to the next task. So it's not like you have to dedicate their entire life to 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes
Right.
a day.
Okay.
But the housebreaking part in the beginning and all that basic, it's just like raising a baby, they don't sleep at night. They want to, you can't let them keep you up all night. You have to figure
Yep.
out how to, like a human baby, sometimes you have
Yep.
to let them cry, so that they end up learning that no, just because I start training doesn't mean you're going to come running.
Yep. How do they do with like strangers coming to the house? Are they usually pretty social with new people? Does that take a lot of work to get them to be that way?
That kind of depends on your household. If you have a household that has people coming and going all the time, they accept that. That's fine. But
Okay.
my personal house, it isn't like that. So if somebody comes to my door, even people they already know, it's a big excitement, and it's not necessarily aggression, but it's, oh my God, look who's here,
Okay.
And if it is someone that is strange, they definitely bark, and they'll actually at times act afraid of them. It's more of
Okay.
a challenge bark. They stand behind me and bark, that kind of thing. Do we need to protect you, or are you going to protect us, kind of thing.
Yep.
They don't aggressively act as a guard dog, but they will
Okay.
stand their ground to a degree. And like I say, so yes, it depends on the household.
Okay.
They can be very friendly. And if you raise them with children and kids are running in and out of the house, the dog's running with them.
Okay.
But if it's a quieter household that rarely has company, they'll definitely need to be held or controlled before you can let somebody in, just because
Okay.
they'll either jump on them or bark at them. It's kind of
Okay.
depending on the person. If it's a dog person,
Yep.
and they recognize that right away, just like all dogs do.
Yep. So if they're raised with kids, they do really good with kids, but if they haven't been around kids, maybe be a little bit more cautious.
Yes, I'm always, because I don't have children myself, I'm always careful and don't let, you go even to a dog show and there'll be
Yep.
children wandering around, and sometimes their parents will make them ask, is it okay? But I'm always very, very careful about that, especially if it's young children that are the same height.
Okay.
Because it's so much, right directly in their face, and
Right.
and children move very quickly. And so some dogs would take that as aggression. So this is dogs in general.
Yep.
So I'm very, very careful with that. But they're good, great kid dogs because they're
Okay.
active enough, and they're kind of wash and wear dogs as well, so they can go out and run through the field and the mud and you name it, and pretty much
Doesn't,
come home and it's all already gone.
yeah, it doesn't take much to get them cleaned up.
Right, and that's one of their big draws, actually.
Okay. As far as health conditions go, are there things that people should be aware of prior to looking into one of these breeds that's common that they maybe need to find somebody who's actively breeding away from?
Actually, they're very healthy breeds. Most of both the clubs, I would recommend that they just find a reputable breeder that is
Okay.
doing health testing. That would be the big thing. You can get any breed or any mixed breed that has health issues. So if you want to try to eliminate the possibilities, we end up both breeds, the parent clubs recommend that you x-ray and have rated their hips and their elbows. So we
Okay.
do that. We do cardiac exams. We do the surf exam for their eyes. There are some DNA tests that we do to make sure that they are not, well, that they're not a carrier and or affected by a certain genetic thing. And so then you make sure that you don't breed a carrier with a carrier, so then you produce an affected dog.
Yep.
And it's usually relatively mild things. It's not really debilitating. The hips and the elbows are probably the biggest things that you would want to make sure you had.
Okay.
Any puppy you bought came from parents that had OFA ratings. I guess
Okay.
that's what I'm gonna say. Other than that, the rest of it, I mean, we test for some things that are actually very, very rare. One of them in short hairs is it's called canine dystrophy or something like that, and it's an eye disease that they call it day blindness. And I'm only recently, last probably 5 years, started testing for it and have never come across one that's affected.
Okay.
But I've never seen one in all the years I've been breeding. Day blindness, what? And that would be they want to hide in their doghouse because their pupils don't constrict properly.
Okay.
I'm thinking, my God, you would think that would be bred out very easily.
Right. Right.
But we are testing for it just to be sure.
Okay.
But they're not prone to very much, really.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Either breed.
Do
And
they
some of it-
get along well with dogs? Is it easy to introduce like an adult pointer to a home that already has dogs? Or is it better to bring in one as a puppy?
That kind of depends on the dogs, because I do a lot of rescue as well. And if the dog has been socialized properly from the time they were a puppy and met other dogs, they can easily be adopted into a family that has adult dogs.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not usually a problem. If it's a dog that already has an issue, like say their dog
Right.
aggressive for whatever
Right.
reason. But sometimes a lot of that gets taken care of just by most dogs that go through rescue have to be spayed or neutered. So
Yep.
sometimes you remove the hormones and then any dog aggression they had kind of disappears.
Okay. And then what is your favorite thing about these breeds?
That's probably the wash and wear part. I
Okay.
mean, I don't have to spend time grooming. The most you really have to do is I give them a bath before we go to a dog show, and that's a couple times a year is about it.
Okay.
Trimming their toenails can be a job, but that's the only real grooming that you have.
Okay.
And so that makes it really nice. And I have, in the wintertime, I have dog coats, and they go out with their little ski jacket kind of things on. The kind
Okay.
I buy are sort of like horse blankets, and
Yep.
do very well in Montana weather.
Okay. Do they seem to need that when it's snowing, or?
Not to just go out and take care of business, but if you're going to go for a hike in the mountains or something, yeah, I would recommend that during the winter.
Yep.
If I have friends that, in fact, some dogs do the ski joring, and these guys
Okay.
are extremely good at that.
Okay.
They don't need a coat while they're actually running, but
Okay.
the same thing for hunting. While they're actively moving, they don't need the coats. But if you do, water retrieves in the winter, you need to be able to get them dry or into the cab of your truck or whatever.
Right.
Shortly after that, they can't manage it if they've gotten wet
Okay.
or extremely cold once they're still.
Okay. What do you find the most frustrating about these breeds?
Um, obviously, I've got a lot of them, so like they can't be too frustrating.
Yeah,
Maybe the activity level at times,
Okay.
if you wanted to have, say, the quiet afternoon, and they're used to going for a walk at that time, they can be really demanding. They'll sometimes they bring the ball to me. They'll just keep fussing around, or a couple of them will decide to start wrestling right in the middle of something, and you're like,
Yep.
knock it off. So it's that kind of thing is probably the only thing that I would think is frustrating.
Okay. Do you think that either of these would be a good dog for somebody who's never had a dog before?
No,
Okay.
yeah, no. When I do my screening for, puppy sales, I always ask, have you had this breed before? Or a similar breed. It doesn't have to be the exact same breed, but
Yep.
I wouldn't recommend them going to a house that has never had a dog.
Okay.
They're too smart and too high of activity level to go into a novice home.
Okay. I imagine that if their energy doesn't get expended, they become destructive, like many
Mhm.
other breeds.
Mhm. Yes. And that even sometimes destruction can happen just when a dog is bored, not necessarily missing the activity or, missing the exercise, but
Okay.
left to their own devices. And some of it's an age thing too. Let's see that one there
Yep.
that just put her head up on. She's 5 months old, and she's still at the age where, what the heck, like the other day, she decided to eat a roll of toilet paper,
Oh.
And I was like, oh my God, and then a few minutes later, she's got something else in her mouth, it's just where they're very oral at
Okay.
that age. And as long as you monitor it, then they're not gonna be chewing up your furniture later, but
Okay.
there's that window of between 3 months and 6 months probably that you
Hmm.
really have to be vigilant on what's going on in their lives.
Okay.
You
Yep.
can eat something that's totally wrong, and then you got a vet bill on top of it, so.
Yep.
But that's all dogs.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of them, kind of that time frame gets to be a little rough. So, is there anything else that you would want people who are looking into getting one of these breeds to know prior to getting one?
They are hunting dogs, and they make extremely good hunting dogs. So that aspect can be turned into all sorts of other things. So you don't have to be a hunter, but you should have some kind of, I'll say, hiking or trailblazing of your own, that you want to get out in the world and take your dog with you, whether it's, even walking down the city street.
Yep.
But they really like to be active and have their be stimulated by the
Yep.
world. And so you've got to be that kind of a person. I don't think they really do well in a home that they're just going to be home all the time.
Okay. And then if people want to reach out to you to get a puppy, how would they get in contact with you?
It by phone, email, or text.
Okay.
That's kind of, I have a website. I think I gave you my information.
Yep.
Facebook page, I get a lot of contacts through that. Sometimes there's people that I just recently had someone that's going to send a deposit for my next litter, and I've been talking to them for like 2 years, and they
Okay.
finally, now it's the right time,
Now
and
they,
they're ready. And of course,
okay.
I had a couple girls that just finished their championships, so and
Okay.
they're eligible now to be bred. So we'll see
Yep.
what happens.
All right. So I'll definitely include your contact information in the notes at the end of the video. And then are there any other resources that you think are really great resources for people who are looking for a short-haired or German short-haired pointer or a Weimaraner?
Well, there's the Weimaraner Club of America
Okay.
and the German Short-haired Pointer Club of America. And they do both have websites and information on the breed standards. The other thing, the American Kennel Club has a large website that's inclusive of everything, every breed that you could possibly be interested in. And they have what's called an AKC marketplace. And so no matter what breed you're looking for, you can go to AKC Marketplace and search for your breed. You can search
Okay.
for your state. And they have a kind of a hierarchy system, which is very good, beneficial to breeders like myself. And so they before you can place an ad or be listed, in that database, you have to answer questions. And so some of the questions are, do you belong to a breed club? How many years have you been in the breed? Do you health test your dogs? Do you have a written guarantee?
Okay.
And several other things. And so the people that have the most boxes checked for that, their listing pops up first.
Okay.
And so it really is. So if you go to look, whatever ones come up first in your area are probably the best choices.
Okay.
No matter what breed it is you're looking at. And they have what's called a breeder of merit, a ranking, which I am. And then they also have a bred with heart, which I also am. That's the next level up. And so that's that you actually compete with your dogs and attain titles,
Okay.
and your health test. And so, and then you off the guarantees and things. So that's probably just the blanket thing that I would tell anybody looking for any dog. Look for those categories first. You may pay a little more, but the initial purchase price of a dog is very little compared to the lifetime of taking care of a dog, especially if one is to have health problems that you weren't aware of.
Right. Yeah. The initial purchase of the dog is the small part compared to the lifetime medical bills and food and care and that kind of thing, for sure.
Right.
All right. Well, I sure appreciate the time that you spent with me talking about the breeds. I'm sure excited to share it with everybody. So thank you very much.
You are welcome. Anybody that has questions about a breed can contact me directly.
Okay.